This is Carlos Tullis.
And this is Allison Tullis. From Screens, you're listening to Word on the Street.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Zim, and you're listening to Word on the Street, like you just heard. This is version 140 of the podcast with Below Blackstar. I'm your host, the Zim of the Zim and A-Rock. I'm in a band called the Zim and A-Rock. And this here we're about to get into is the intro. We do an intro on the beginning of every podcast, and I just tell you a few things that has been going on in the world of the podcast and whatnot, and then we get into the conversation, and this week's with Below Blackstar. So let me tell you what's been going on. What has been going on? I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know what's been going on. I'm really tired. I work for Lyft here in San Diego. I drive people around, and I'm just got done a long, 12 hours in the car today, a long day. And I'm trying to put this podcast together to publish tomorrow today, time warp of the podcast. And, so I don't really know what's going on, to be honest. I'm my brain's just a bowl of mush. One thing that I do know what's going on is that we're still looking for votes for the Seattle Weekly Readers Poll for the podcast. I would love it if you voted for it. The link will be on the description of the podcast at WOTSpodcast.com. I would love it as well if you became a partner to this podcast. I need more partners. And what I mean by that is I need financial backers for this podcast. And the way that happens is through Patreon, patreon.com/thezim. If you want to become a partner to this podcast, if you want to be the executive producer, if you want to back this podcast, you can do it for $1 or more a month. That would be excellent. There are 25 of us already doing it. And speaking of backers, so that's my favorite way of doing it. Of course, however, you can do a one-time backing of the podcast if you want. You can contribute as a one-time thing and just be like, hey, I don't want to have it a reoccurring thing. I just want to do it one time, which is what Aeon from Quiet did. So thank you, Aeon. She contributed $45 to the podcast. And so that's amazing. One-time backing and one-time contribution, I guess you could say. I'm not sure how to phrase it. It's but yeah, she's partnered up with the podcast as a one-time moment thing. So that was awesome to have happen, because there's a lot that goes into creating this podcast that requires money. Not only the server space and all that stuff, but replacing gear when it breaks. And speaking of replacing gear and breaking gear, the following podcast you're about to listen to has a few examples of how I need to replace gear. I think this trip to Seattle that I did and recorded all these 13 podcasts that I did is the final leg of the interface I have, or the setup I have. I need to dial in my setup because my mic seems to be cutting out a lot nowadays. And I don't know if it's my mic or if it's the interface or what, because I don't know. I have to figure it out. But anyways, the bottom line is I need to invest some money into it to figure it all out. So there are those things, and it shows up on this podcast. So you'll hear a little bit of audio fluctuations, but I don't think it's annoying. Let me know if it's annoying, and I'll fix it. Whatever. So anyways, I think that's about it. So Patreon, do that. Seattle Weekly Readers Poll, do that. Of course, I want you to become, I want you to like this page on Facebook, facebook.com/Word on the Street podcast. And I'm actually on this campaign right now that I'm building up my collateral for, but I'm going for 10,000 likes on Facebook. And the only way that's going to happen is if you give it a like, but not only give it a like, you actually go to the page and invite your friends to like the page as well. So we need that to happen. So please go do that for the podcast. Invite your friends. There's a difference between inviting your friends and sharing the page. Sharing the page is great. Do that. Make sure you put a comment about your share. It's always important to tell the people that you're sharing things to why you're sharing it. Otherwise, they don't really recognize that a share is happening. It's kind of it's just the way it works nowadays in the internet. So many things get shared all the time that unless you state why it's important to you, people ignore it. So you'd have to say, hey, check out Below Blackstar. My brother, mother, sister, cousin, friend was on this rad, awesome podcast called Word on the Street, and check it out. It'd be super dope if you listen to it too, kind of thing. That's the kind of thing you have to do on when you're sharing things. But that's totally different than inviting your friends, because there's an actual button on all your friends' page on Below Blackstar. Go to Below Blackstar's page, and under the right in that area where it shows you how many people like the page, you can open up that area of the page on your phone is the best way to do it. So you go to your phone, go to Facebook, go to Below Blackstar's page, go to Word on the Streets page, go to any page that you like and you want to tell more people about, and there's a button that says invite your friends to like this page. So you click that, you tap on it on your phone, and then when you tap on that, all your friends will show up, and it'll have this little button next to them that says invite. And you just go down the list and go invite. So that would be rad if you did that for your friends' bands, Below Blackstar, for We're on the Street podcast. All those things would be awesome. So check it out. And also, that's it. Of course, this podcast you can find a bunch of stuff about the podcast at wotspodcast.com, including the links to iTunes. iTunes is a great place to check out the podcast, wherever you may be listening to it. iTunes is a place that I like people to listen to it, so check it out. If you do it over there, rating and reviewing it on iTunes would be awesome. All right. That's good. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit out of it. I'm really tired, and I'm trying to work hard and try to pay off some debt and trying to keep things going here. So, let's do this with Below Blackstar on We're on the Street. Let's do this.
It's
Jason, where are you off to?
Check. Okay, everybody, remember your mic placements.
All right.
Tripod.
Am I good?
Tripod. I think so.
closer to the mouth is better.
Hi, Below Blackstar.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. How you doing?
I love it. You guys ready to do this?
So ready.
I started. We're recording now, so we'll see how it goes. I'll probably be fiddling with the knobs. This is by far, well, not by far. This is like more people than I've had in one pod. No, I take it back. I've had 9 people.
We like breaking records. Dang.
But that was like a thing that different. It wasn't one band. It was like many things and stuff. But welcome, or thank you for letting me come to your rehearsal space.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome. What we should do off the top is go around the horn and do some voices. So do voices with what instrument you play and what role you play as well, like if there's any additional things you do in the band. And it kind of makes sense just to go around the horn a little bit.
Yeah, so that would make me first, right?
Yeah. Yes, it would.
My name is Jessica Bierhaus. I'm the drummer of Below Blackstar. In addition to playing drums, I guess you could call me the band counselor. Because all these fools are crazy.
The HR department.
And the HR department. And for my day job, I work as a school psychologist, so I kind of have that lens.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
Awesome.
Hi, Jess.
Hey.
Jason Rodriguez. Rodriguez makes me completely anonymous on the internet, so you can't Google me. I play guitar in the band sometimes. I sing sometimes. I'm the band Phantom. I actually might be their imaginary friend, I think. They might think.
You're the band mom, dude.
Yeah, you're band
Band
mom.
Oh, I like that.
Band mom.
You're
I
always
think I like that.
encouraging. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Just a
Absentee a little
super
bit, but
loving
then you
soul.
still feel like you have to devote your, work to
Yeah.
me somehow. I love this. It's beautiful to have us all together because that doesn't often happen. I'm not often here, but usually I play guitar. Usually I sing, and sit at the right side of the stage.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
My name is Gerard Millman, but these fools, they call me Rabbit. I'm the band Rookie. I play guitar here. It's my main thing.
Okay.
But yeah, so band Rookie, that came from Rabbit came from Super Troopers, because I haven't been in the music scene for very long, maybe like a year-ish tops. I'm
Okay.
super new, so it's just kind of like the running gag that we got
Yeah.
going on. But currently I'm a student at Shoreline. I'm learning how to mix, master, produce, sound design, audio engineering as a whole,
Yeah.
in
I
general.
went to Shoreline.
Yeah,
I didn't do the audio engineering part though. I did the other part.
Okay. Yeah,
But
their
music.
engineering department, it's spot on. Like,
Cool,
they're
awesome.
really good at what they do.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I'm Christopher. I play guitar, sing. I am the I don't know. What do you call me there? The band dad.
The villain.
I am
the villain all in
Wait, is
black.
that just because we're both Latin that we have to be the band mom and dad? We're just married here.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of trying to insinuate.
Yeah, okay. that
I
works.
was feeling you out to see how you felt.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that.
Good.
So I'm the longest tenured person in the group, and I'm just happy to be here.
No.
He's being modest. He writes everything, or he's written everything that we've recorded so far. He is a killer guitarist and a killer singer. He's a lot of those things.
You're full of shit, but I'll take it.
And wears a hat in the most inappropriate places.
And sunglasses at night.
It's true.
Best dresser, I'd also like to add.
I hate you guys.
Awesome. I'm Debra. I play bass,
Hey, Debra.
and every now and again I will sing. I am the shortest tenure here. I joined up in November,
Okay.
and I mean, if I had a band role, clearly it would be to provide a ray of sunshine to these fine folks.
That's true. That's why Christopher always wears sunglasses.
This is
Yeah.
true.
You're too bright.
This is true.
Cool. And then we do have another person in the room. I like to keep everybody included. You want to just...
Hey guys, I'm Skye Van Cleet Claggett. Don't try to Google it. It'll hurt your head trying to type it out. I've got a very long name. You guys can all know me as Skye Terra. I'm the new band manager and booking agent for Below Blackstar, so hit me up. I'm
Sounds good.
really enjoying the role. I was kind of thrust into it by suggesting awesome business stuff that had to do with my management informations degree, and they were kind of like, "Oh yeah, so you're the manager now," and I was kind of like, "Oh, okay,
And now I can't get rid of you.
yep." And now they're stuck with me.
Cool. Well, that's great. That's thanks for that. Getting the sense of voices and names, so as things happen, people will know who you are. I failed to write down everybody's name too, so I got a few of you, so I might have to be reminded as we go along. But one of the things I love to do at the beginning of a podcast is do the theater of the mind. So where are we sitting right here? What is this space all about, and what does it look like? And
So we're sitting in our rehearsal space in undisclosed neighborhood, and while that sounds cool, it's at the behest of the building owner, who doesn't want a whole lot of attention to the little side business that's going on down here. So we refer to it simply as Arkham City. One way or another, we're all kind of Batman fans, and we actually got kicked out of our last rehearsal space, which we were calling the Bat Cave, and it just made sense that this dungeon, this moist and cold dungeon that we're in, might as well be
Moist.
Arkham City.
I hate that word.
Everybody hates that word, but we've made it a home. We've got Christmas lights up, so it's comfortable in here. I think. Yeah.
I like the
Meerkat calendar.
The Meerkat calendar.
But yeah, we have my little all together now Rabbit's Sexy Fun Time corner with all the gibberish. Like we have a Meerkat calendar. We have
crap
a
written everywhere.
all sorts of good stuff to make this place home. We added some carpentry. There's, like you said, there's Christmas lights all over the place. We have a really nice stage that we like to practice on. Make sure all of our stuff is here so we can get a good perspective and practice, as if we were actually performing. But we've been here for, I don't know how long, a few months now, throughout most of the summer.
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
Yeah, so this place has really become a home for us. We've had a lot of good times, a lot of really intense bonding experiences here.
So is it do you guys use like you said, do you actually use the stage while you're rehearsing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we set
we
up
do.
all of our gear on stage and we practice our practice sets like
Yeah.
we were playing a show. Yeah.
That's cool. I appreciate that as a performer as well. Being able to rehearse the way you'll actually play instead of, because it's when you're do the circle thing, it's you're all looking at each other, and
Yeah.
so then you go on stage and it's oh my god, I'm not looking at the person that I was looking at.
Right, the
before.
visual cues are all
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, where?
That was
wait.
something that we actually naturally practiced at for a really long time. And when we moved into the Batcave,
This keeps on.
yeah, here's Rabbit voice, and shuts off.
Auto tune.
It's working now again, so hopefully it'll stay. Don't touch anything.
Cool.
I don't know
Nobody
what
knows.
it's all about. I'm just glad the other one didn't turn off. But okay, we're back. Sorry.
Okay. Back at it.
Whoa. So the past practice spaces that we've had, we naturally just practiced in a circle, and visual cues were a very important, natural part of playing together. And when we moved up here, it was really, really weird at first, transitioning out of that because it was such an integrated part of our practice set. It took a while to break that, but now that that's not so much a part of our practice setup, we actually have been able to communicate as musicians on the spot using music so much more. We're volumes ahead of where we were based on that.
So when you're rehearsing just brand new stuff, even, are you still on stage, or do you break it up and kind of spread out in the room?
No, we stay on stage.
You stay on the stage.
It's important. It's important for us to be on stage to practice the performance.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just the songs, whether they're old songs or new tracks, but knowing that we can communicate without having to actually look at each other too. So.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the bonding aspect of things and stuff, and it's like one of the things that I've recognized about the space of rehearsal is that, you know, it can be some of the best moments of your life, essentially, because it's like the chance where you guys all get to be together, and it's like sometimes it's like, and what I'm trying to connect together is when you're in the space, you know, whether it be preparing for a show or whatever, it's like giving it like 100% while you're in the space. And it sounds like you guys are there because you what we're talking about, you create that, and it's just an important, I think, an element that I think a lot of bands miss. They kind of, you know, call it in while they're at rehearsal and then try to bring it on stage. But if you're already focused and going, we're doing it here as well.
You're so right, man. You know, Bruce Lee said you never practice when you're tired.
Yeah.
And so we have to come in here and we have to act like we're at a show, but it's not a pretentious like method actor thing. You know, what happens is you can't see this, but we share this space with a recording engineer who has tons of equipment. Okay. So the only place he doesn't like putting his equipment is up on the stage. So that's how it kind of ended up that way. And then we'd go play these like little shows where we'd all be scrunched together and just kind of felt like practice. So it was easy, you know, it was like we were already trained to be in that. It was like a constant dress rehearsal, you know. And the bonding is amazing when we're like literally hitting each other with, you know, the ends of our guitars and stuff, you know, it's pretty rad.
Throwing sticks at Christopher's ass.
Yeah.
Accidentally, of course.
My ass is fantastic.
That's why everyone, he loves this because everyone gets to sit behind him at practice and just stare at him, which is awesome.
Is there anything else about this space that's unique or different, or has manifested something in the band, for the band?
I'd say,
I think we all have the black lung.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Mesothelioma. I saw that on a.
I mean,
I can joke about it because I have it. I mean, we all do. So there's something definitely wrong here. There was actually a point where there was a leak here, you know, and we are in Seattle.
It was
That's
very
the one
moist.
thing we can talk about. And it was truly
exceptionally moist.
It was raining in here like the Rainforest Cafe. Like it was like the back of this wall was completely filled with water, and there was mushrooms growing on the carpet over here.
I mean,
and we'd walk in here, and it was disgusting, right?
It's true. This was right around the point where I joined the band, and I thought it was a piece of provolone cheese on the ground, but no, it was a mushroom growing out of the carpet. So
yeah, we thought Rabbit just got messy with his sandwich.
Actually, I think we all kind of blamed Rabbit for a little bit.
We blame him
got
for
away
everything.
with it if it weren't for you meddling adults.
Yeah.
It's a true thing. Like, it actually incepted like a bunch of jokes, and it was there for I don't know. Like,
well, we now have a meter to measure the humidity in here. So,
okay.
But it's actually, I think it's one of the cleanest of all the rehearsal spaces I've ever been at. So I'm not complaining too much.
Yeah, literally the screws on the amp started rusting. Do you remember that? Like literally, I know it's a painful place for Christopher. He had to get literally all the screws in his amp replaced because it was like against the back wall where it was just rusting out.
I'm just thankful it wasn't like the innards.
Yeah.
The transformer or the tubes and stuff.
It's just so the epitome of Seattle, how I imagine being. I grew up on the East Coast, and I imagined growing up, you know, in the 90s, I thought I'd run out to Seattle and start a band. And now that I'm here, it's like it's the way I imagined it. It really is gray and wet and dark, and there's nothing better to do than to talk to each other through your instruments, because you're already crabby and stuff, and so the words aren't going to make sense. And then you come into the practice space where all of your expensive equipment that everybody's taken a lifetime to amass is now also getting soaked with the moisture and wetness of Seattle. And it's just something happens where all of a sudden you're like, did we just write a song by accident? How did that happen? And it just feels pretty rad to all be in the same place. Like everyone gets affected by it the same way. And, so anyway, that's how we ended up on that stage, was just that we were sharing the space with just a dude with a ton of equipment. And then so all of a sudden it led to this really great way to practice that I'd never done before in a band. I never really had a stage set up as a practice space, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, I feel like every band should try and do that.
Well, in our the original rehearsal space was at a house I was living in forever, and I laugh at it now because people used to complain, well, this room is too small, this room is too small, and now we practice in a space that's technically smaller than the room at the Milk Bar, and we're better off. It's
true.
So.
Well, we definitely got the theater of the mind. And
then some.
which is awesome. I love it. So the next thing I like to do, kind of at the top, and well, there's two pieces to this kind of. This is what I consider a blind date podcast, since I've only met like two of you, three of you. You came to one of my shows, which was awesome. Thank you guys. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was a good show.
I love you for that. But the other three of you I haven't met, so there's like this combination blind date podcast thing that I like to call it. But in the fact that I'm still getting to know you guys and stuff, you are gonna need to help me out with like this next section, which is this bullet point idea of like, what are we actually do we want to talk about while in this space here while we're doing. We could talk about a little bit about like how the band came together and all that stuff. I'd like to know where you stand with kind of your recordings and different things like that, like just how many you've done and what you plan to do in that world. Are there other, like, this is definitely a platform for you guys to bring up whatever it is you might want to bring up as well. So is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Below Blackstar has actually been around for a very long time, and every time we talk about the history of Below Blackstar as a band, it's got a large history. Like Christopher, he's the only original member, and every time we talk about it, he can break out an entire whiteboard and go down the list of musicians that have been
the flow chart.
Yeah, exactly. But this is in my mind, with the limited experience that I had with the past musicians, we're a very strong team, and we've been together and pretty much building this up for about a year now. Because I remember when I joined the band May 1st of 2016, at that point we were on our way of basically recycling like a good portion of the band that had existed at the time. Like our current members, I'd say a little over a year ago, 4 out of 5 of us weren't here. Like we weren't a part of it. So we went through a really long process of just rebuilding ourselves, not necessarily from the ground up, but we had a lot going for us. We had songs, we had a place to practice, we had the gear, we had the drive, we had everything we needed to start building, and it was just start building. So we've been really at it for a very long time.
Well, the group had always been conceived as a quintet. I always liked the idea of having a really powerful driving rhythm section and doing the 3 guitar thing, which, when you listen to older recordings, I think the first example that I can come up with is probably like, there's Radiohead, who are most notably a 3 guitar band. And every time you tell a musician that, what do you need 3 guitars for? Well, when you look at older recordings, you listen to like The Police, where there are 3 guitar tracks on a lot of songs. You listen to the Eagles, where there were 3 active guitar players all the time. And Iron Maiden's another example, and of what kind of effect you can achieve having 3 guitar players. So when the band first coalesced, it was kind of like a dream for me, because I'd always been either a studio musician or just a side musician in somebody else's project, a lot of stuff that never got off the ground. And I thought, well, if I want to do this pretty seriously, I mean, I'm just going to have to drive it. I'm going to have to front it because there doesn't seem to be much choice. I don't know what other bands go through, but it always seems to me like there's been an exceptionally high number of musicians that have been involved in this group, all of which, for whom I'm very grateful. And just to echo something that you said, Rabbit, about a year ago is when that last exodus began, and Rabbit joined the group first, followed by Jessica, followed by Jason, and then it took a few months to find Debra, and it was really the first time for me, even though I had made some really good friends. I'm still good friends with quite a few of the former people that I've had the honor to play music with. There's something extraordinary about these 4 people that I get to share this experience with. And I think we had this conversation a couple weeks ago where I said that if one more person were to leave, or if I'm not going to go through the change in lineup anymore, I think if Jess or Jason or Rabbit or Debra departed, I think that would be pretty much it. Don't think I would have another lineup shift left in me. And I'm happy to be here with
on
everyone.
now, guys.
I know. I feel like I'm locked in for life.
Well, what is it? You choose your own involvement, right?
Yeah.
Choose your own level of involvement. So and everyone's done a good job with that. So I'm super grateful.
Cool. Did you want to add something?
I'm good.
One of the main questions that I like to explore with bands is where do you feel you exist within the landscape of the Seattle music community? And like, I'm coming up with this kind of XY kind of axis on that, and it's like I always forget which one's X and which one's Y. Is Y vertical? Or
Yeah, I think you had it right.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Y is vertical and X is horizontal. And the horizontal is like what I see as a goals spectrum. Like, one end of the spectrum is I just want to play in my bedroom and that's it. And then the other extreme of the spectrum is I want to take over the world and go on, do the whole thing. And then the Y is what your genre, like how you see yourself fit genre wise within the scene and that kind of thing. So I'd like to explore that with you guys and see where you are, what some of your... It seems like starting with the goals thing is usually a nice place to start. And like, where do you... What have you accomplished? What are you still wanting to accomplish? What are some of the kind of collective conversations you have as a group of like what you want this to be as a band?
How topical. This came up today, actually. Pete Carroll says that you shouldn't be the best at what you do. You should be the only one doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably the case with Below Blackstar.
Sure.
I think at my height, I was going out 6 nights a week to see bands and just have that experience and feel enriched and meet new people. And I haven't encountered, of all the little pockets of scenes that are in the area, I've not encountered any other group that we really would fit with necessarily, and that kind of tells me, oh, well, all right, maybe we're onto something here. Maybe this group is on to the only thing that is being done.
I wonder, I like to jump in and tangents and
That's
stuff.
cool.
Because I wonder, though, does that present a problem? Because
Oh yeah,
I feel the same way with my group. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we really fit with anybody, but what it creates sometimes is like, well, how do you put a lineup together? So,
Yeah.
or how do you get on a show because you're not quite the same thing as other things? Or so in that realm, you're agreeing with me. So how do you react to that? What do you do because of that?
I think malleability
Yeah.
is key. There was a review written about the first LP, about how all the songs had disparate influences, yet still managed to sound like the band.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whenever we get a booking and we can examine like, okay, we're on the bill with this band and they're more like this. Well, why don't we tailor our set list to be more accommodating to that, to play to that same crowd? Yet we have a booking a week later in a different town and with a band that sounds like this. Well, why don't we tailor to sound like that? I mean, coming up here in a few weeks, we have an acoustic show. You know, so being able to be versatile, I think really kind of helps us fit in a little bit more, but still not fit in because we are doing the only thing that we're doing. We're the only one doing what we're doing.
Yeah. What do you think is the unifying factor of your sound? You said based on that LP review, there was a spectrum of sound, but yet it still sounded like the band. And then you're saying you cater to one thing, and then you're doing an acoustic thing. What for you is the thing, and anybody can answer that, makes it Below Blackstar? Like, what's the unifying voice or sound?
I think it's a combination of past and present. And when I say that, I mean Christopher. He's written all the songs, at least to my knowledge, all the songs that has been released under Below Blackstar. And we've gotten really good at being able to, re-perform those, but we've been able to do it with our own flavor and our own capability of playing. Every time we play, we always play with our own hearts in a sense. Like Jason, everything he plays from himself, and everything I play from myself. And Christopher, he has his nuances and flavors and what he does to the songs to make them his, and we add on to that to make them ours. And I think as a collective, the way we do that, it makes us unique in that sense. But at the same time, I think that also gives power to many other bands to do something similar. Now, like I said, I'm a little bit, I'm still new to just the general scene as a whole.
Let me help you with this. So, no,
I appreciate it.
Sorry, that sounded really condescending.
Shut the hell up and let Jason
sounded really condescending. No.
Band mom.
What we do
has something to say.
Yeah,
Enlighten me.
What I was going to say was that I've been in bands for a long time, and you either have one of two things. You either have a band with your friends and your family that you love, and then you never get anything done, or you have a band where you work really hard and you can't stand each other, and everyone's a genius and everyone's correct and everyone's got a big ego. And what's weird about this band is I think we all really respect each other as musicians and our own inspirations, and we all come from a very similar place. There's a Venn diagram that has a lot of crossover, and then there's aspects that all of us can look at each other and one little bit of your iPod that is disgusting to four of us. There's all that, and then we bring that together. But unlike all the other previous bands I've ever been in, these guys are everybody here is they care. They're great technicians. They're great musicians. But we all love each other. Like what you were saying before about coming in here and this is the best time of our lives when we're on rehearsing together. I think that, it kind of answers the show thing too. What ends up happening is we'll book acts with rap acts, and we have the best time together. Everybody's hanging out backstage and we love each other because we all just love music so much that I'm so stoked that this guy is making rap with a little Mo. Yes, we love Mo. Mo's
roller skate rap.
A little shout to 52 Kings there. He's great.
He's the best, right? And so we just have a fun time together. So we're playing some random little show that is weird. Almost every show is kind of weird in itself. When the lights are on, just in this practice space, when the big lights are on, you're wow, this place is a piece of shit. But sorry, I don't know if I can curse on this.
But
it's
you're
I take a lot of pride in this place, right?
But, no, I love it because it's ours. But But the same thing with every show. You go to a venue, once everybody's cleaning up, you're wow, this place is fucking shitty. Can they even serve food here? This, it's just so gross. And everything's weird about it. The promoters are weird. The other bands are weird. Everybody's super weird, right? So then now,
get offered.
Yeah, right. Everything gets offered. So then all of a sudden, you guys are all together, and you're hey, wait a second. For a moment, we're going to follow you on your journey and your theatrics, whatever they might be. And we're all in on that. And so as a band, the five of us and Skye, who is our, compass.
Pixie Demon Overlord.
Pixie Demon Overlord, exactly. She's like the Ring. Somebody watched the videotape and now we can't get rid of her.
Oh, God,
we have to show somebody else.
Please just throw her into the volcano.
I don't need that in my life.
But all that's to say is that we just approach it with such love. We love each other. We go to a show and we love the other performers. And then all of a sudden it's we just end up celebrating how all of our music is different, which I know it sounds like so hippie. I'm such not a hippie, but like it's just we end up really, really, truly loving the music. It's like Jimmy said. Jimmy said, you know, music is my religion, and that's kind of in a weird way how we all end up treating it. And so the genre thing and all that stuff doesn't even matter anymore. And to Christopher's point, it could be an acoustic show. We could play with a rapper. We could play with, you know, a dude just making beats on a keyboard all night. And we just have fun together, and we get each other more shows and stuff. And it's this feeling of a scene that through proximity, not because of like a style. You know, a lot of us came from different scenes where like it was punk rock or hardcore or whatever it was, goth, that like you had to have a style. That was almost like a prerequisite. But now this beautiful thing where the five of us are on stage, like if the five of us are at a diner, it doesn't even look like we should know each other. And then we get to a stage, and then we dress like we look like the Fight Club waiters, you know, like the caterers. And so like it's just like, you know, something about just loving each other and loving the other bands and just truly being in love with music. Because also, like, I don't know, I think we're at a certain age, and this is what, you know, this is the only thing I meant by
a certain age.
Are you calling us old?
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to help Rabbit out with this. I wasn't being condescending. I swear to God, I wasn't being condescending. But the thing is that, you know, in a long enough timeline, what you'll learn is usually at a certain point, people get really, really jaded, and they're just disgusted by the whole, you know, kind of paying your dues thing and stuff. And everyone in this band is like excited to pay their dues. And, you know, to Christopher's point, it's like he doesn't have one more lineup change in him, but I like to think it's because we're it. Like we're, you know, we all love each other. We found each other, and there's like, I'm not doing this again.
Well, and I want to add to your point about the love of our music, and just to describe our music a little bit, because I joined Below Blackstar as the drummer like a year ago, and all the previous bands I've been in have been like typical beats, you know, 4/4 time. I joined Below Blackstar, and I signed up for some crazy rhythm signatures that I'd never done before, 9/8 time, and I was like, oh my God, what the hell is that, you know? And I was like, oh, and then just the way the music is structured challenged me in a way that pushed me to grow a lot as a musician, and then grow a lot as a person, just being surrounded with the people in this band. And I mean, the music, when we play it here in this room, I don't know about everyone else, but I get this adrenaline rush that's just like, it's like surfing or like riding a motorcycle, or, you know, it's like a drug that feels so good to be doing together. That sounds weird. I'm not really that into drugs, but
but it's true.
That's where the shrooms come in.
Yeah.
That's why we grow mushrooms.
Grow your own. So I want to bring it back around to Christopher, and what we started before I broke us off on this tangent of, because we're kind of talking about both goals and genre within the last 10 minutes has been this mixture of both. So I want to continue that, but we are halfway through, so we need to put some music in. So we need to decide at this point what song we want to put in. Christopher gets the conch.
Let's do Red, Shades of Red.
Shades of Red. And tell us a little bit about Shades of Red.
I wrote Red in 2006 about opportunities not taken.
Okay.
And I think of all the tracks on that first LP, I think it's probably my favorite. It's the longest one, and I think it's probably my favorite one.
What's the LP called?
Under a Concrete Sky.
Under a Concrete Sky. So we'll throw in Red, or was it Shades of Red?
It's both. Red/Shades of Red.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 13 minutes long.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay. Under a Concrete Sky.
It's 13 minutes of I'm seeing red.
by Below Blackstar. All right, this is a quick reminder. This is a community-supported podcast. Patreon.com/thezim. Become a partner of the podcast. $1 or more. Facebook.com/Word on the Street podcast. Give the page a like. Share it with your friends. Invite your friends to the page. And also iTunes. Go find the podcast on iTunes. Give it a rating, a review, and subscribe to the podcast. All right, let's get back talking with Below Blackstar. All right, so before the song, I've mentioned I wanted to get back to the whole goal, this XY spectrum thing I'm looking at with the goals. And you mentioned it sounded to me like part of the goal was to be unique.
Definitely.
You went out and studied. So continue what you were saying in that.
So I think I've often said that if we were a punk band, if we were a country band, something where there was a formula, it'd be a lot easier to get gigs, or it'd be a lot easier to find new people, or whenever somebody leaves for one reason or another. But I think this is definitely more fulfilling, is writing these tunes that kind of come out of nowhere. It's definitely forced me to be a different kind of guitar player than I ever thought I was going to be, a different musician than I thought I was going to be. And Stevie Ray Vaughan used to say that the music didn't come from him but through him. Mm-hmm. And I think whenever I write a tune, I think it's kind of similar, just instead of forcing out these 2 to 3 minute, 2.5, 3.5 minute pop song, well, why not just let the song write itself? Mm-hmm. Whatever that ends up sounding like. And there's definitely still a pop sensibility in some of the tracks on the EP that we're recording now, which is going to be a representation of the current 5 of us. We're calling it Bloodlines.
Mm-hmm. You have a thing for the blood, huh?
Well, it goes with all, it goes with all the black that I wear, But the first track off it, Elephant, is, it's a pop song, but it's done in our way. There's a little odd meter action. There's some weird chord action. The bass and drums kick so much ass in that song. But it's still pop, but it's still odd. Mm-hmm. And I think that we've found that avenue where we can still be creative and fulfilled by our creativity and still get a fairly decently wide appeal.
Yeah.
Goals, well, like I said, that's a conversation it's good to have every now and again. We're coming up on that time, but
it sounds like an EP is one.
EP is
to
one.
Get a recording with all you guys together,
right?
Mm-hmm. So recording is an important piece to what you're doing.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then so playing shows, like what's your net or whatever you want to say of like when you're trying to book, like where do you look for, where you go, like how far away from Seattle do you try to do, or are you just mainly looking at Seattle itself?
So
Skye's
I guess it's my turn as a band manager. We've been not only getting more gigs in our local, beautiful Seattle home scene here, but we've been expanding out to Bellingham, and we're looking at a show coming up in Everett here pretty soon that our wonderful friend Kyle Ledford help us arrange, and we're working out some links down in Portland, Oregon, and we really want to kind of open our net and allow people to be drawn into us and to be part of our family and our music.
What's the ideal gig schedule in terms of how often do you guys like to play?
I got a chance to have attend this great talk with Kevin Sir of Artist Home, and he really reinforced a lot of the things I'd learned over the last few years. And a gig schedule is only as good as understanding your markets. Mm-hmm. If you want to get businessy for a minute, if you're going to play the Crocodile on a Friday, Saturday night, and you get like a blackout date, well, we could still go play Everett. We could still go to Bellingham within that blackout date. You could still technically play a house show in that blackout date because those markets are so different. The same kind of people don't attend all those different kind of shows. And as far as how often, as often as those opportunities present themselves, I think if you have a chance to take the music to the people, why not do it? And you know, we're all busy people during the daylight hours, and of course we're recording this after midnight in true Below Blackstar fashion. But so work tomorrow for all of us is going to be a little difficult. But,
I don't have to go to work tomorrow.
for all of us but you.
This is my work.
Right. And you know, Debra's made some. You know, we talk about band roles. I think Debra's really stepped into the role of being a driving force for the group as well, and what bands we should play with, and where we should play, and which rooms and stuff. And you know, I think there's always going to be healthy debate about those kinds of things, because you definitely want to take a good opportunity when one presents itself. But
has the tour conversation come up yet?
Tour conversation came up today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
We'll.
Yeah.
I think that's something we all want. I hope that's something we all want.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
crammed into tour bus with you guys to the point where I don't even want to look at your faces anymore.
What are you talking about, bus? It's like SUV.
Yeah. Caravan.
Honda Civic.
Horse
Debra
trailer.
was actually our most experienced member of the group. You started out right after high school, going on tours.
I moved to San Francisco and joined a punk band, and we bought this really piece of shit, broken down former airport shuttle, and we kind of made it our own, and we toured the country for like 3 months, just totally DIY. Like we'd get paid in gas money and just hope that it was enough to get us to the next town and do it all over again. I mean, I don't know if I need to relive it quite to that fashion. I would like some air conditioning this time, and maybe more than one meal a day.
I don't know. I'm fantasizing over here.
But yeah, I'm always down to tour. That's a good time.
We recently had a joke going that we were going to invest in a decent vehicle. We were going to get the joke about the sex box, basically like an armored car instead of anything else. And roll around in style. Doesn't look like anyone else.
That was your chicks are great moment from Almost Famous. When you hear this back and you'll be like, and I said sex box? Man.
Yes, I did.
Sex box.
I don't even know what that means. What was this conversation?
It was just getting an armored car.
Yeah,
so
instead
that
of like a minivan or anything.
We could leave shit in there so nobody would break into it.
I'm going to use my manager veto here. I'd rather it be called the Batmobile. It's going to be
box. That's 2 against 1. So
we'll discuss it later.
She's pissed, so we kind of got to shut up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think tour is important. I remember having this conversation with Test Records years ago about if you come back from tour alive, then it's meant to be. And so I hope that the first time that we go out on the road together, that we come back alive, and we'll still be wanting to make music together.
Awesome. I think that kind of gets a good picture of the goals with the band, like what you collectively want to do. And I think we kind of talked already about genre. I mean, it's like I like to kind of, for somebody that has never heard your music and is listening to this for the first time, I like to give them just a little sense of where you could place yourselves in general. Like, do you consider yourselves?
I love this question because I always want to ask you guys how you describe our band.
I mean,
to your friends, what do you do?
I don't even know. I have to be honest and say, going back to the punk thing, I was very specifically looking for a band where a punk band where I could play bass in, and I stumbled upon Below Blackstar on Craigslist, and I listened to it, and I was like, uh-oh. Like, this isn't punk, but this is like, I have to be a part of this. Like, this is happening. This is on. And I still, to this day, I don't know what it is, short of goddamn magical.
Yeah.
Yes. So, same thing happened to me when I was looking for a new band. I wanted to be in Rise Against. Like, I wanted to be in, that's like the greatest, to me, that's one of the greatest bands ever. And that's what I imagined myself being in next. And where I came from on the East Coast, all my friends' bands were bands like the Bouncing Souls and things like that. They were just bands that were just such typical but like great punk rock bands. And then the same thing happened to me, like it happened to Deb. Christopher reached out to me. I had an old band mix profile that I forgot about, and
I love for how long it took me to find guitar players in previous lineups. I love that I found you and Rabbit both on band mix within like weeks of one another.
I totally forgot that I had a band.
I know,
Yeah.
but everybody forgets about their band mix profile, and I'm the only one on there.
I forgot about it, and it was like they were sending out these security emails saying you have to update your password, and I was just so annoyed by it that I went in there, and I guess it made my account active again, and then he found me the next day. And he was such a charmer. It wasn't like, come audition for us, because I was like, fuck you, I don't audition, whatever, blah, blah. But like, you know, he's like, dude, you know, you're like funny, like, you know, your profile was funny and shit, and like whatever, and you seem like a cool dude, whatever, we should grab a cup of coffee. And I said, yes, and I just moved to Seattle, and I said, cool, man, yeah, let's grab a cup of coffee. And we sat at Beth's Diner for, like 4 hours the first time together. It was so funny. We went through probably like 8 pots of coffee, and we looked at each other and we were like, yo, dude, even if we don't play music together, we're hanging, like we're down.
And it was such a trip to me that, you know, here I am with like a goth Pink Floyd shoegaze background, and you've got like the punk and the hardcore. Rabbit is jazz trained. Jessica's dance beats, and you had some jazz drumming training too for a while, and Debra's got the punk and hardcore thing too. And I mean, everybody just comes from someplace so different, and it's I think anyone who is really into music, a music consumer, you realize you have these different moods, you have different stages of your day. That you can't just listen to punk rock all day, because that's not going to satisfy you. And so there's elements of all of that in what Below Blackstar does. And the tagline for years has been Halo, Tex, Hex, Punk, Floyd, Sad Bastard music. And it tells you everything. It tells you everything you need to know. What is it? It's all of it. It's all of it. It's goth, it's punk, it's hardcore, it's prog, it's jazz, it's
little industrial.
It's a little industrial. It's country music in some places. It's adult contemporary in some places. It's all those things. And this is, of all the bands I'd ever been in, this is the first band where the whole was greater than the sum of the parts, and it always has been.
I think the thing that makes me the happiest, like being the band manager and getting out there and networking with people, is when someone asks me the question, oh yeah, so what's your guys' band's genre? And I'm like, I sit here and I pull out my little index card here. So we've decided for today it's going to be Halo, Tex Heck, Punk Floyd, Sad Bastard music. And it is the best moment of my life when I see the reaction on their face and they are just like thoroughly impressed.
You mean that prick with the cowboy hat?
Yes.
So one of the questions I have, based on, like, you've been talking about what each member brings in terms of like styles and things like that. Christopher, you're kind of the main. Are you the main songwriter, would you say?
Traditionally, that's been true.
Yeah.
I always wrote the skeleton of a song and let all the other musicians I was with fill in the meat of a tune. I always found that it created a greater sense of ownership of the song. But that process has to change now. Yeah. Everyone's a creative force, and I think at this point, because I used to just have to drive things. Mm-hmm. I got put into a position, I think, where if I wasn't going to get into it, then no one was going to. Yeah. And now I don't have that issue. Yeah. So it doesn't seem right for me moving forward to say, okay, well, I wrote all these songs here, learn them. I need Jessica to be able to tell me, like, hey, I got this sick beat, can you put something to it? Yeah. I need Debra to come in and say, hey, I wrote this cool thing, what do you think, can we do this? I need Rabbit to not play so damn much so I can continue to ignore him. And
you can never get enough of me.
I just can't seem to get enough of And Jason too. You know, Jason's an amazing player. He's an amazing musician, and I think the true hallmark of a good group is being open to what everybody really brings. And you know, my ego does not require me to be the main anything.
With the new EP that you're planning on recording, is that what you're describing?
No, I wrote all that shit.
Okay, that's
We're helping him get the last of that
out of your system. But you probably are right. You're okay. I see.
Yeah.
So as it progresses, because it's only, you said only a year. It's really not that long for
less than a year for
a collective of musicians to be together.
And there was already a second LP planned.
Yeah.
That kind of got pieced together a few months after Under a Concrete Sky came out in 2014. And the idea now is, God, do we still do that?
Yeah.
That was that's like a 3-year-old idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that represents a group that is no longer, as opposed to the group that is. And it's not fair to everyone to say, hey, I wrote this crap 3 years ago. Why don't we learn it now? You know, that doesn't feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We all of us here pretty much came into Below Blackstar kind of on accident. Like we all came into Seattle, or we all came into it looking for something. I came from Pullman. I left Washington State University, and I came over to Seattle. I was like, okay, I'm going to join a rock band, something with screaming involved and heavy guitars and something like that. Kind of like what Jason and Debra was going on, despite the whole jazz thing, but regardless.
I mean, you kind of got that.
I kind of got it anyway, but like that's the whole point. We came in here looking for something, and now because of that, because it's challenged us and we've grown from it, we're really invested, and we've hit that point where we're just fiending to write music with each other all the time and really get like what we have going in this crappy but home-like place. Like we really want to get our own voices out collectively together.
Yeah.
We've been writing some stuff every so often, like you were saying. Jess will just throw down a random beat and I'll throw some chords to it. Jason will sing to it. We'll just start jamming on the spot. I mean, it's so organic sometimes that
there is an unwritten rule though that we have to be careful and not let Rabbit turn us into a post-hardcore group.
you better watch your back. Christian's gonna turn us into that too. Shout out to Christian Ballard. We call him X-Man, but he's our mixer and he's been our recording engineer for the Bloodlines EP. He's one of the guys that shares the spot with us. But yeah, the guy's awesome at what he does. But I mean, he kind of rolls around the post-hardcore rock genre as well. So
I'm gonna kill you both one day.
Also, I forgot to tell you guys this after our last show. One of my friends remarked that we were like the Breakfast Club up there because we were all just like so different. And quite frankly, I don't know if that was a compliment or not a compliment. I chose to take it as a compliment.
That's a compliment.
I would take it as a compliment.
But I mean, it's just we're 5 different musicians, but we all got detention on that day.
That's so perfect.
I hate that movie. Oh my
just
God.
like, yo, all you'll go to Seattle.
So your next music video has to be a parody of the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that'd
good
be
idea.
And also,
I'll do
I
the
wonder which
Emilio
one I
Estevez
am.
backflips.
You could be the jock.
That's your job.
Yeah, that's you.
Me?
What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
I wanted to be the crazy girl.
Dude, it's like a lumber mill over there. How many drumsticks you broken?
The crazy girl.
That's true.
I assumed that was me.
Everybody wants to be the crazy girl.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think I feel like we got a really good sense of what the band is, like the existence of the band. Is there anything that you was kind of milling around in your minds while this conversation happened that you didn't come out yet? Anything?
I was thinking about how it's important to us as like a collective value in Below Blackstar to be like gender diverse band. I think that's a pretty important point for anyone listening to this podcast to take away. And that's come from Christopher from the get-go, but in being intentional about recruiting female musicians and supporting female musicians.
Which is funny because I've actually gotten crap about that from the strangest people. And it's really odd to me to think, well, like, oh, well, you only like have a woman in your band because you're just trying to like tokenize or whatever. I'm like, no, man, like, I mean, Debra's like an amazing singer, and I can't sing the way Debra does, and it's important to me to like have that vocal. Everything that can be a resource should be a resource, vocally or from a different point of view, and teach me to see things that maybe in a way that I hadn't. And
there was a weird Twilight Zone kind of thing going on Christopher's Facebook a little while ago, where it was women claiming to be feminists that were angry at him because he was hiring women for the sake of being women. And it was the strangest, like, at the end of it all, we were like, wait, so you're arguing that he shouldn't give a job to a woman just because she's a woman? All of it became so strange. And truthfully, it was just the way he envisioned the songs. Like he said, certain things, like certain parts of the songs needed a female vocal, like a Silver Sun Pickups or like X or something like that, where you have like this beautiful duality between male and female. And it's just like, it's so great having a female rhythm section. I've never had that before, and there's something different about it. And like, I don't know, like
they're pretty much the best rhythm section I've ever worked with.
Yeah, there's just something really great about it, and I don't know if that's a gender thing. I have no idea, but it's the people that are here. I can't imagine it being any different. And unfortunately, and I think one of the things that Christopher was trying to fight was that it's such a boys club. Like the music scene is such a boys club. It just kind of is, And so everybody has to be, if they're in a band with girls, it has to be like an all-girl band or something like that's the gimmick,
Mm-hmm.
And Christopher was always like fighting against that because he just didn't see that, And I'm just so grateful that we have that right now because it's everyone lends their own piece, and it's just
and above all, we're all talented musicians that love what we're doing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what gender we are, but just statistically, we're trying to buck the norm.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole nother podcast on the lack of female representation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I volunteer for Rain City Rock Camp for Girls because I think it's so important to be visible as a female musician, be visible for these kids who are coming. Like, they're the next generation, they're the revolution, and it's just, I don't know. I live in a bubble where I'm fortunate enough to be a mentor to these kids and have an entire network and community of female musicians who I support and love, and it's just, I mean, it's such good stuff. And to hear anyone say anything negative about that is just so weird to me and so far removed from my reality. So
I think what I've found most important about Below Blackstar as a whole is that while we all share like certain things together, it allows all of us to be our individual selves. And honestly, Below Blackstar allows me to be me. No matter where I am, where I go, I know that everybody here has my back.
Everybody here's a bunch of jerks.
And I love them all.
Remaining jerks together.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's no rabbit hole I'd rather go down than with all of you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely a goal of Word on the Street as well, is diversity and getting voices, and I mean, in so many different ways of looking at it, but just the gender diversity. I think I'm doing a decent job of that with the amount of female voices I've had on the podcast. I think I'm lacking in the ethnic diversity. I need to figure out how to get that going on, but today we've solved a little bit of that, thankfully. It's awesome.
Well, we represent everyone, Brown. So
yeah, I guess we are.
Not
Muchas
everyone.
gracias,
Not everyone.
señores. Sorry, that's really patronizing.
So one of the funny things that happens to us all the time, because we do live in this beautiful liberal bastion, blah, blah, and politics aside, whatever, and everybody lands in their own version of it, we can't help but bring it up every once in a while. It just happens, right? It infects all of us. And so one of the things that is so funny is the beer house. That's not like a nickname. That's our actual last name. It's the most German last name of all time. And she, as a German descendant, is the most critical of herself by accidentally being racial or racist. And so Christopher and I, who are Latin brothers,
we take advantage of that a little.
Yeah.
Bust her chops every once in a while, and then we leave here and we're like, wait, I think she felt really bad about that because some really, really off-putting thing, like she's said, hey, maybe we should go to Chupacabra and get tacos, and then looks at us like,
wait, was that racist?
It wasn't because I really like it. I really like it, not because you guys. Because it's hilarious, actually.
It's important to have a sense of humor about these things, I think,
Yeah.
especially in these times where there's a lot of tension in the world, and hopefully we can at least with each other and maybe with the people that we're around bring at least a little levity in. Because ultimately what we're doing, I mean, while we believe in our art and while we do have a business approach to it, I mean, the fact is this is an entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And if we can either brighten a listener's day for 10, 15 minutes, or if we can create that bond with anyone listening to this music, then we've done what we're supposed to do. Whether it's identifying with women in music, whether it's just the overall theme of the music, that's the whole point. It's creating a bond within and creating a bond without. So, and hopefully we're doing that. I like to think we are.
I think that's a great little punctuation for to wrap this up with, because like I said, with so many people, it's easy to fill up time, and we did it. We filled up the time, and I think there's definitely a round 2 because there's so much more to talk about with the project, with what's going on with you all as individuals, and just like you said, the whole business aspect of being music. There's so many things we could talk about. So let's do this again,
please.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Come
yes.
back when we're done with our EP.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
when the EP's ready, we can promote it and kind of get the more stories from each of you and find out what's going on. So thanks a lot for being a part of this. We have to wrap it up with one more song, like I said. So what do we want to put in as our?
Well, why don't the 4 of you choose it because you should.
Yeah. Think so. Yeah.
I don't know.
First one that comes to mind.
Well, I was going to say blue because it'd be pretty cool.
Yep.
Since we already did red.
Yep. Okay, tell me about Blue.
Well, blue is this moment that happens to us where we're up here practicing, and it's different than a lot of what we had been doing up until now as a band. And all of a sudden we'd start practicing a song. Christopher goes, "Hey man, can we? I think it's time we put blue into our shows." And we go, "Okay, cool. Everybody know it." And I kind of know it off the top of my head and stuff like that. Whatever. Let's practice that. And this thing happens. That was the first time I felt like we were really a band together, where we were finishing each other's sentences musically and stuff. And Deb looked up and she's like, I just want to hug you guys. After that, it's amazing. And so there's this. I always associate it with this cool thing that happens where I get in this weird trance, like unlike anything else that we do, where Jess starts going off with this bossa nova thing going on, and all of a sudden we're just in somewhere. It's kind of like it's like Radiohead moment or something when I'm listening to it, and so I absolutely love it. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but
Well, it's ironic because I think Christopher will tell you it's a song about conflict, but it totally, when we play it, it's like a big group hug for us.
yes.
Yeah.
And just proper attribution too. That's actually one of the tunes that I co-wrote with someone who's not here anymore, and I just leave it at that. But blue-hued, sleep-deprived love song has become a favorite of this lineup, and we're actually re-recording it, and it will be on the Bloodlines EP with the current lineup.
So but this is the
Under a Concrete Sky version.
Under a Concrete Sky. So, well, thanks again, guys. This was great. I love it when I can get into a space of musicians, especially that you can feel the passion and you can feel the energy and you can feel the excitement for what you're doing. And I definitely felt it today. So thanks for letting me be a part of that with you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
We really we try to be as open of. This band is really a family. We came from different walks of life, and we all came together for this to be with each other and make a family out of it.
I just wanted to get paid, dude.
It's all about the money. But
So you asked about the X-axis. I want my own cologne.
we really try to extend our hand as a family to anyone
Black
that
blood.
wants to be a part of it and wants to, and that feels a part of it. So we'd like to extend that to anyone that really feels to be a part of that.
Cool. Well, right on. So let's leave it with Blue off of Under a Concrete Sky
Blue-hued, sleep-deprived love song off Under a Concrete Sky
by Below Blackstar. And remember to always party at the Moon Tower.
Party at the Moon Tower.
All right, we made it to the end of another version of Word on the Street. Thanks so much for joining. Man, I'm so out of it right now. You know what I did? So I did this thing. So I'm a Lyft driver, as I was saying at the top of the podcast. And I had this really clever idea that turned out not to be very clever at all. I was thinking like, Lyft gives bonuses for referring new drivers. And I was like, I'll just use some of my bonus that I get to try to, give more bonus to whoever uses my promo code or my, code. And then I was like thinking about it. I was like, that's probably not okay. And I looked at the terms of service on Lyft, and they were like, you can't barter your code and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, that was a bad idea. And I got because I'd already started talking about it online, and I was kind of got freaked out about it. So I think I found everywhere that I posted something about it and took it off the internet. But and hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't get me in trouble. Somebody said, one of my passengers said the other day, sometimes good things happen to good people, and it made me feel kind of good. I like that. I know it's like totally ambiguous in a way, because sometimes, what does that mean? Sometimes, yeah, it's like once every 10,000 years or more often than that. Who knows? But sometimes it's like I feel like I'm a good person. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like I feel like I'm a good person, and sometimes good things happen to good people. So, I'm just looking out for those good things. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, if you want to continue this exploration of the Word on the Street podcast with me, there are great ways to do it. Of course, becoming a partner to the podcast. I need more partners for the podcast. I'm looking for like a couple thousand people to partner up with the podcast so that this thing can actually sustain my life and I don't have to drive Lyft as much or at all. That would be awesome. I'd love it. I don't know if that would ever happen, but it might happen. Another idea I was thinking about, it was this whole idea of like eventually one of these recordings of the podcast will have a profound effect on somebody. And I'm thinking most likely it'll be somebody like 10 years, from 20 years, 30, 40, even 100 years from now. Somebody's listening to this and just their mind is exploding because it's like the person on the podcast was important to them in some way, or just some reason. I like the whole legacy aspect of it and the documentation, the archival aspect. Like someone's grandkid could be, you are someone's grandkid that was on this, and you're listening to it, finding out about the person that was a few generations before you were even born. Isn't that amazing? And we could all be dead by now, but you're here listening to it. That's my goal anyway. I want to keep this. I hope this archive stays out there so people can access it. That'd be awesome. But what was I talking about? The Patreon. Partner up with the Patreon. Facebook. Give the page a like on Facebook. And then also iTunes, of course. Do the iTunes thing. Rate, review, and subscribe. And also the podcast is on, or not the podcast, but this whole journey is also being recorded on YouTube, youtube.com/thezimvideo. I do a video journal every week and talk about the podcast and things. I already know for a fact that this week coming up, I'm going to talk about how out of it I was for my intros and outros. I'm so tired. I'm so ridiculously tired. And I still got to put this thing together and publish it and get it ready to publish tomorrow. So anyways, I'm going to stop talking now. Thanks for joining. I love you. I'll catch up with you. Talk to me. I would love to hear from you. Comment on the posts on Facebook and all that good stuff. All right. Thank you. Talk to you later. Peace.